Okay, this video is going to be like a cross between the Blair Witch Project and a history lesson, which means it's not going to be very interesting. And it's going to end with a bit of mythology, which means it'll be weird. But here we go. I'm at Stonehouse Helmet Mountain, Barrow. That is to say, an ancient burial ground in a place called Stonehouse or Stone Room, and it's in a mountain called Helmet Mountain, and the entrance, for some reason, I've no idea, is marked by two totem poles someone has put quite recently. Totem poles have nothing to do with Japanese religion, or well, maybe they do actually. Maybe they're totemists in a sense, Japanese. I believe they are. But generally speaking, no one associates totem poles with Japanese religion. I see that the totem poles are blue and yellow, which is interesting because the pathway into the forest here is marked with blue and yellow insulating tape if one passes through them. And someone has put out a lot of rather Blair Witchy shells on a rock at the entrance. This means beware, don't go in. Okay, as I mentioned in a previous video, just got to change my grip. That's not very good. As I mentioned in a previous video, this area, Stonehouse or Iwaya, used to be an island, and since prehistoric times it was inhabited. An island in the Inland Sea where they made salt. And it was the place where the first Jomon period, that's a prehistoric period for Japan, the first Jomon period relics were found in this prefecture. And so it became quite famous for a while. And again in 1973 when they excavated this mountain. And what they found in the mountain was a Kofun period, and the Kofun period is the first historical period in Japan, in that there is one brief mention in a Chinese history book of Kofun period Japan, and it corresponds to the burial ground period. And it seems to be that a lot of civilizations, like the Celts, well, and certainly the Egyptians, go through a period of where burial becomes a very important part of the culture. I'm inclined to think that in the case of the Japanese, there was an invasion from the mainland, whereby some people became very, very wealthy and able to have themselves built tombs. If you're so wealthy and you can't take it with you, well, you can have yourself a tomb built. But the general Japanese explanation is that rice-making culture was imported into Japan, and as a result of that, there was a more hierarchical society. Incidentally, on the way to the burial mound, there's someone has a more recent tomb. This is a Buddhist grave out on this mountain here. I'd say that's 100 years older. And so, well, about 1500 years ago, 1600 years ago, the burial ground period was created. And generally speaking, in this era, I believe, we get a patriarchal society. We don't know what happened before that. Possibly before that as well. But in Japan, as evidenced by this burial mound here, there is a woman buried in the tomb. Now, when I came this morning, I thought that this was the tomb, and this is a tomb. I'm not sure. It's not the most important one though. This is one tomb here, and you can see the stones laid out on the ground there, creating a burial chamber. And this is as far as I came this morning with the guy that showed me where it was. But if you go further, you can still see the pieces of insulating tape are continuing into the jungle. Okay, so 600 years ago, even though they moved into this sort of burial mound creating culture, and some Japanese burial mounds are as big as some of the pyramids, I believe. They're vast. They're not quite as tall, but they make hills out of earth and make them in the shape of a keyhole, only found in Japan. And keyholes figure in the mythology, incidentally, but I don't suppose that's relevant. They're called keyhole-shape old tombs. I've lost my pieces of insulating tape. I'm lost in the jungle. I'll just have to forge ahead. No, that wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, so, yeah, they made these vast burial mounds, but however, for instance, in this one, the occupant is a female, and she was excavated in 1973. And the reason why excavations were more possible then was because, or maybe not, this is not entirely relevant, but for a long period of about 1500 years, this was a pine forest, a thick pine forest. But after the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945, they removed the pine and rebuilt Hiroshima with it. And as a result of the mountain being denuded, these ancient relics were found for the first time. And in 1973 there was a proper excavation by Yamaguchi and Hiroshima universities, and it was found that at the peak of this mountain there was a burial mound. Indeed, the mountain itself may be part burial mound, and in it was a young-ish woman with a traditional burial paraphernalia, including a small steel beast engraved, how exciting, beast engraved mirror. I say exciting because my son is so into what I would call totemism for kiddies and Super Sentai, which is a kind of warrior, a superhero kiddies program. There have been 30 of these kiddies programs, 30 types of warrior, and they're generally totemistic in that the superheroes are sort of have the soul of a lion, and this lion comes and gets inside them, and that makes them superpowered, and later they get inside the soul of the lion. It's very much like a Klein bottle. It has the structure of a myth. Anyway, so she's buried here at the top of the mountain, and in times gone past, not when the pine forest was there, but in the ancient period, presumably she had a good view over the inland sea, but alas, we won't be able to see the inland sea. You can tell we're coming to the top of the mountain now because some of the trees end in stumps because they've been hit by lightning, such as this one here, and here she is down here. And this is the Barrow, the burial mound. And all you can see here is two large slabs of stone, but underneath there is a chamber. And my belt is attached to a tree. Is that some kind of omen? The other interesting thing about this mountain, now called Helmet Mountain. There are a lot of helmet mountains in Japan, incidentally. Kabuto Yama, it's quite a common name. A lot of mountains of that shape, I guess, helmet shape. But it's also called Stonehouse, and Stonehouse is also the name of the place where the sun goddess hid in a stone house, a cave of some sort. And some people think that it's a kind of tomb. The story has it that her brother came to visit her, and he was very wicked, and he rampaged around, and eventually he harmed her in some way. So she hid herself in a stone cave. And the only way to get her out of the cave was not by putting your hand in it, which is what I'll do now, but by doing a kind of erotic dance in front of the cave and laughing. And all the gods and goddesses said, "Hey, we're having a great time out here. How about if you come out and join us?" And then when she opened the door a crack, they showed her a mirror. And she saw the mirror and herself reflected into it. And she said, "Hey, you're right, there is someone beautiful out there." And as a result, she came out. And everyone was happy, because she was the sun goddess, and until then, they'd been consumed in darkness. That's what you meant to say when you put your hands in cracks.